Etching slate is such an easy process, and when you have a Cricut and you can make all your own personalized stencils, it is so much fun to see what you can come up with. Today we're going to walk through the process on how to do this, and make sure you stick around to the end so you don't miss any of the important tips and tricks on how to make this perfect. Now when you etch something, you only need a few things to make this happen. So here I have my Armor Etch Cream, my paintbrush, and then I have a small slate board. This one's like an 8x5, I believe. You can get them in all different sizes. And then my stencil that I created in Design Space. Now, this was a super easy project to put together. And if you have Design Space, you can make anything that you possibly could want for your stencil. Now here I have my low-tack paper transfer tape. If you guys haven't ever used this yet, you should definitely go get some because it is great for projects like this, because this vinyl does not always necessarily want to stick to the slate because the slate is not a smooth surface. It's got some texture to it. So when you use a low-tack transfer tape, it just doesn't stick to the vinyl as much as maybe a stronger grip paper would. And that helps to release the vinyl onto the slate a little bit better. And here I'm just using Oracle 651, so no fancy stencil vinyl or anything. You can use whatever you have on hand. I usually buy a roll of a color that I maybe don't use very often when it's on sale for projects like this. Now you're going to want to burnish this down onto that paper transfer tape well, and then remove the backing. As you remove the backing, just make sure none of these little pieces from in between your letters pop up with it. Sometimes that happens. Just place them back down where they need to be. And then we are going to flip this over onto our slate. I'm just going to eyeball where I think this is going to go. And once you have it down in place, you're just going to take your burnishing tool and really just press this down onto the slate the best that you can. I always make sure I go over the tiny little letter pieces really well so that when I'm peeling this off, they stick down. Sometimes they like to pull up, and I'm just going to slowly go through here. Even though it's in fast speed, I'm taking my time and making sure none of these little pieces pop up. Have you ever tried this etching cream before on anything? It is super easy to do once you figure it out. That you gotta try it. Now here's my next tip. Get your hair dryer and rub down this vinyl as you're hitting it with some heat. This will help to press this vinyl down into any of the little grooves and pieces of that slate that are maybe not so even. And then we are just going to cover this thing with etching cream. As you can see, I am not using this sparingly. I like to really just glob this cream on here, and don't worry, we're not going to be wasting it. So go ahead and cover up all the spaces that have your slate showing. If you're afraid you might get it off the vinyl edges, go ahead and just put some painter's tape around the edges so you don't get this on any of the spaces where you don't want it, because wherever this is, it will etch. I have been using this for a while, so I'm pretty confident that I can stay where I need it to stay. And because we use the hair dryer to really secure this vinyl down, I'm not worried about this getting underneath the vinyl and seeping underneath or bleeding underneath that vinyl, which is key if you want really clean, crisp lines. Hey, if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming tutorials, and go ahead and drop a like if you are getting any value out of what we are doing here today. Now, as I finish up here with loading on this etching cream, I'm just going to go around and make sure all the little spots are covered. I set my timer for 5 minutes and then I come back in after 5 and really press this etching cream down onto the slate pieces where I want it to be etching. I find that this really helps in the etching process. I don't know, it could just be an extra step that I do, but I never have any issues with getting a good etch when I do this. It takes a little bit extra time, but not that much. And then I'm gonna go back over and make sure all the pieces are just covered again really well. I just find that pushing this cream down into those spots after it sits for 5 minutes just makes it work a lot better. Now I went and set the timer for 15 minutes, so it's a total of 20. And I'm gonna come back in with my paintbrush, and as you can see, I am just putting all this cream right back in the bottle. That is why I said, don't worry about being wasteful or really just loading this up with the cream, because you can use this cream over and over again for so many projects. I don't even know how many projects I've done so far with this one tiny little bottle. So it is definitely worth the price in what you pay for one little tiny bottle, because you can get so many projects out of this. Now that I've got most of this off, I'm going to take it to the sink and I just rinse it off with water and rub it with a paper towel. Again, you guys, probably I should be wearing gloves, but I'm not. I use this stuff all the time and feel pretty good about the way I use it. And now here you can see, after I peeled off the most of the vinyl, you can see where it etched, and this turned out pretty well. I am really pleased with how this etched in this slate. I'm just going to pop off the rest of these little yellow bits of vinyl and then show you what we are left with. And there you have it. This turned out really well. And you guys, if you have a Cricut and you can do this with that, there's so many possibilities you can do. The slate comes in all different sizes. And if you need any other suggestions on how to do etching with products that you get from the Dollar Tree, go ahead and watch this next video.